welcome back to another week of Tesla Talk. Let's kick off this week's episode by stating the obvious. Florian, what were you doing yesterday and what did you find out?
Swimming in the pool? I have no idea. Swimming with the Doge.
You were scrolling on X?
Oh yeah. I was looking into Doge and what the world was looking at. What the hell is Elon doing with this Doge project? And I was like completely shocked about all the scandals and the things going on. So I was like looking at other people. Yeah, did you see this? Did you see this? Look what Elon is finding out, etc. And I was scrolling, and then suddenly it was finally something about Tesla. And I looked twice, and it was your tweet. You've been retweeted by the boss.
I can die peacefully
Congratulations.
now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know.
I was even more excited than you, I believe.
Yeah, you called me quite hysterical. Holy fuck, what the fuck happened? Well, I had exactly the same when I woke up. What the fuck is happening here? Yeah, so that tweet got skyrocketed to 1.6 million views. Insane. This is the tweet, the X post. What I did is I took the video of Tesla owner Silicon Valley. The whole video is also in the comments of this tweet. But I made 4 clips of it, and this was for me the most striking one. And Elon decided to repost it. So
you're done. You can officially die now.
Yeah, please get me to those 5 million impressions so I can start making some money and buy some new clothes. Yeah, so this was a short intermezzo. I thought fun to start off with.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
Enough happened, especially in the last couple of days, because we've seen Tesla stock imploding almost. And that has a lot to do with Elon doing a bid for OpenAI. So, Kenny, I'm
not sure about that case, but...
No? Why not?
Because the stock price was already at around 350 before that news came out. So
That's true. It was quite low, but it was tanking after market yesterday. And I found a tweet by Square, and this is exactly the question that I want to ask Kenny. So on the screen, we're seeing right now his tweet. Nobody believed me when I said Elon selling shares to buy Twitter would have a massive impact. Well, I was right, as it went from 414 down to 100. What do you think happens when he buys a company worth twice as much as Twitter? Even if he's only in for half, we're all fucked. So, Kenny, what do you think of this one?
It's way more nuanced. So he says basically 414, so that's the all-time high. It went down to 100. It's not only selling some shares for Twitter. So we had a bear market, so the whole market went down. I mean, I think Meta went down like 80% or 60, I don't know, like crazy amount. Amazon went down, and then Tesla is just high beta, so it's very volatile. There's a lot of trading in the stock as well. So it went down with, I think, 74% in total. So yeah, huge drop. But it's not only due to Elon selling the stock. What I do agree with him is that a lot of the buying and selling on the marketplaces for stocks is based on algorithms. So if it goes below a certain trend line, what they call it, they sell it. And when it comes on a certain trend line, they buy it. And when the selling is higher, so Elon sold a lot of shares, he can technically break the stock. That's what happens sometimes.
Like market manipulation kind of.
Well, no, it's not market manipulation. He just sells his shares on the open stock. But then because it comes below a certain threshold, triggers algorithms to sell it down. So yeah, okay. But that's why also Tesla is quite volatile, because it's used by quite a lot of algorithms and a lot of traders are in it. So I think it's a lot of speculation.
Yeah, I saw Kimball also moving quite some stock.
Yeah, but
he's already selling for 10 years. So he has a big position and he shaves off his position once in a while. I think that's
when
also,
they need money. I think also Jensen and Wang sold like last year, and then the stock tripled. And so it's they have plans. So management teams and board members, they all have plans for selling stocks. So a lot of the times these are planned sales. So they can, because they have a lot of inside knowledge, they cannot always share. So sometimes there are even plans behind it, but still you see in the media or on Twitter, hey, they sold X amount of stock. but it's sometimes planned already like a year in advance. So it's very, very much nuanced.
And apart from the stock price, stock reaction in general, what's your guys' idea about the whole Elon lawyer team leaking the 97.4 billion bid for an OpenAI buyout?
Well, I did get some information on it. So basically, what they're doing is they have this non-for-profit OpenAI,
Just
and they
putting
want
the tweet on for the listeners and viewers to look at it as well.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Yeah, I had to laugh that Elon. I think Elon mentioned like scam Altman.
Yep.
So quite funny. Nevertheless, so OpenAI started as a non-for-profit open source company, basically, and they want to transition to a closed company and then for profit. And what I read about it is that if you want to do that, there is a certain valuation of the company. So you have to extract the company from the old structure and put it into the new one for a price. And like rewinding my mind back, I know that Elon put in several millions. So he was one of the first founders and put in a lot of capital. So I actually think he owns quite some money of that entity when it gets bought up. That's my expectation. I'm not sure, but I think that's the case. So out of that, let's say 100 billion or 97.5, I think he will get a certain piece as well. But
so there's something in it for him if it gets sold for the highest possible price.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the rumors are that the valuation on itself of the company is quite low, like maybe 10 billion or 6 billion. But there is no external valuation because it's not on the marketplace, so it's kind of hard to value OpenAI right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very strategic move to now say it's worth 100 billion because now it has a certain value. So it's also very hard now to extract from the OpenAI now closed non-for-profit entity to the new entity. So I think it's a very strategic set.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't know is the history of. Because it's actually a story of a very long history.
Mm-hmm. When did it start?
No, so let me paint a little bit of historic background on this bit. As Kenny mentioned, Elon was one of the founders of the OpenAI team. So what not a lot of people know is that Elon is actually one of the first people. He's basically the founder of OpenAI because this idea all sprouts from Elon having a discussion with Larry Page from Google. So Elon was very concerned about AI already in 2014, 2015, and seeing the efforts of Google basically being the only company in that space that was heavily invested, attracting all the talents, etc. So Elon was having a discussion with Larry Page, the founder of Google at that time, and having a discussion with him like, Larry, how do you see the future of AI? And Elon was very worried about the role that humanity would have in Google's vision for AI. So he basically had a discussion with Larry, and then Larry was a bit annoyed by the questions of Elon, and he called Elon a speciesist.
Oh yeah, speciesist.
Speciesist. So that's the whole history. So Elon said, well, what do you actually mean by speciesist? And Larry said, well, it's more important to create this sort of new form of intelligence instead of worrying too much about what it all means for humans. And Elon said, oh, wait a minute, that's actually a frightening scenario that we don't want for a future. So he was thinking about, okay, what is Google actually doing at this moment? Well, that's a closed for-profit, so a non-open source, a closed source. I don't think that's the word, but the opposite of open source. Google is a profit-maximizing, for-profit, closed AI builder. And he was thinking about what is the actual opposite of that. So at that moment, he came up with the idea of creating OpenAI as an open source NGO of non-profit organization, not non-government organization. Let's don't get into that at this moment. So he decided to initiate OpenAI as as a sort of counterbalance for the activities that Google was doing.
And he was also behind like the name. He
came up with that specific name of OpenAI, and OpenAI later became the leading company when it comes to AI, of course, with ChatGPT, etc., etc. But I come to that a bit later. So then he started OpenAI. In the beginning, everything was still fine until Elon hired Ilya. So Ilya, how do you pronounce his surname? Ilya, one of the founding members of OpenAI as well, together with Karpati, was one of the AI sort of geniuses in that.
The autopilot legend from Operation Vacation, yeah.
So Ilya joined the team, but Ilya at that moment was working for Google. And because he played such a pivotal role in the team of Google, Larry Page was pissed off on Elon, and since then they have not been talking. They had a bit of a
bitch fight.
Yeah, of a fight there on the resources of talent, but also Larry suddenly seeing Elon as a competitor in the AI space. So then the first years of OpenAI, I think we're talking about 2016, 15, 16. It was a super innovative company of people basically testing the frontiers of OpenAI. So in the beginning, there was a lot of news on AIs winning certain chess games, winning computer games, etc., etc. And also a very interesting one, if you... Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was already friends of OpenAI back in that day. So that world of people that are front runners in the AI space is actually a very small group of people that all know each other. So there's a picture online with Elon and Jensen Huang standing in front of one of the new super chips that Jensen and NVIDIA presented at that moment, and you see Sam Altman sort of sitting in the background at that moment. And there's also a great interview of Sam Altman actually interviewing Elon back in the days in his factory in Texas. So also Elon and Sam are going way back, and Elon basically recruited Sam Altman years ago to sort of oversee that operation. And then
he recruited him to become part of OpenAI.
And so Sam Altman was also he was at Y Combinator at the time, and he joined the OpenAI team, and he was also very passionate about that whole mission. But in the meanwhile, apparently Elon did not have his eyes on OpenAI that much. He was maybe it's not
preoccupied with a lot of other stuff as well.
And also he invested 100 million in the sort of starting phase of that initiative. So he not only came up with the name, he also put it in a significant amount of money to hire the first talents, etc. And Elon was also very much involved in the recruiting of the core team, like he always is. So Ilya was one of the initiatives from Elon to hire him. But also in the meanwhile, things at OpenAI started to change quite drastically. So all of a sudden, 1.5 year, 2 years ago, it became apparent that OpenAI had more commercial initiatives, and that causes a lot of turmoil within the company. So Ilya and other founding members left the company on that because it was not true to its own mission again.
And is that also around the same time that Microsoft got into...
when that fully escalated at the latest moment, then the CEO of Microsoft decided to step in and sort of take charge of that. And there's a couple of interviews of the CEO of Microsoft. What's his name again?
Steve Ballmer?
Satya Nadella.
You're in the Stone Age.
I completely lost what your question was, Kees.
No,
at the beginning. Why are we still talking about OpenAI?
No, that is the history of why this bit is starting. I think is massively.
Damian is weaving a bit. He's weaving.
Let me finish my story here.
Sure, go ahead.
So then all of a sudden, Microsoft steps in and start developing a lot of commercial products with OpenAI. And all the other people involved in OpenAI in the early days, like Ilya and Elon and other people that have put money in, because it was not only Elon that had put money into that initiative, also a lot of other things. I think Mark Andreessen also had some capital there. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, that money is not they're not in the books anymore for that, and it suddenly become a for-profit organization. So they're still with their hands in the hair, like how on earth is this possible? And apparently Sam Altman and some other OpenAI people probably found a loophole how they can structure that. So I think this bid very much is a sort of counter strategic measure from the group that Elon represents, to sort of win that battle, to become to make sure that OpenAI cannot transition from open source organization to a sort of closed source company that is being controlled by Microsoft at this point.
And what's your prediction in terms of is this going to happen, or is this just some news article that got leaked and they're pushing another agenda?
Well, I think the stakes on this are so high. Yeah. The stakes on this are extremely high because we're talking about the number one, let's say, front runner in AI. So ChatGPT is, as of this point, still the biggest and most known AI initiative, and they have a certain advantage on their competition. So if you're going to value a ChatGPT and OpenAI, the value of that company is actually massive. Yeah. So the stakes are sort of extremely high in what they want to accomplish there, and I think Sam Altman is also looking for alternatives, how to structure his IP with his company. So last month or last week, we were all a bit surprised by suddenly seeing Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, and the CEO of the SoftBank being together talking about the initiative of 500 billion. We talked about it in our previous podcast too. Like, what are these guys up to? What are they doing? And who is in the lead of that? Is this an OpenAI initiative? Is this an initiative that comes from Sam Altman? Who is in the lead?
Sam Altman.
Yeah, so
Gavin Newsom.
I mean, but it's such an easy tweet, from Elon. He just says Scam Altman, and that's the only thing you have to remember. It's like,
and that's the only thing that we will remember.
But So I do have some thoughts about it because yes, I don't feel very comfortable with Sam, but I think competition is healthy in itself, right? And Elon says that he is the leader on AI, and Tesla's number one, and they have to get binocular to look at the second place. Well, why then is he so afraid of OpenAI?
No, he's not afraid. It's just the actually what he's saying. It's a scam.
Yeah, so they left the core mission, and it's now like a money machine.
That's why it's not called OpenAI. It's called closed AI.
Yeah. So from a strategic point of view, I can imagine. But if you don't worry about it because you're so far advanced, etc., then why should he be worried about it?
No, that's not. It's not. Elon said they're the leader in real world AI. That doesn't say. OpenAI is. And ChatGPT is very advanced in what they're doing. They're ahead of Grok, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Or the initiatives of XAI. But if you fund something 5 years ago, so you're the founder of the name, you hired the key hires, you put in your own money, and now all of a sudden you're not in the game anymore there, and you see sort of questionable things happening within OpenAI. I think that is the thing.
It also stems from I don't know if you can remember the discussions he had 2-3 years ago, where he was actually saying, let's stop all the AI
Yeah, he actually wrote a letter.
Because he was really afraid of what was going on
signaling
in
all the
OpenAI.
dangers.
Why are they doing this? And I think he still thinks that if you don't approach AI with a ethical kind of way, but you only do it the leader of the company is actually a scam.
Yeah.
It's like
it's not a safe feeling. Like,
it's not a good feeling, and it's more about that than about competition or being afraid or whatever.
So Elon already together with the blog Wait But Why. Are you familiar with that blog?
Sure.
Yeah.
Tim Urban.
Yeah, Tim Urban. There was an in-depth interview on Elon and the OpenAI things going on there. Elon was in 2014, 2015, literally using the words, if we don't take the right measures, we're summoning the demon with AI. So he was like, in all the interviews, you saw Elon sitting, like literally depressed about his concerns about the future of AI. And I think Elon tries to, that OpenAI initiatives is a sort of counterbalance on the initiatives that Google had at that moment. And Google probably lost track a little bit in creating that AI. So I'm not sure if Google's still on the lead, but they still have a lot of compute and things that they can achieve. But more to the point of this bit, this is already a feud that is going on for years now, maybe.
Fight.
No,
feud.
A fight.
A fight.
Oh,
it's been seen as ongoing for a couple of years.
So it's already ongoing.
But now it's very concrete. Like there is an offer, and it got leaked.
Now it comes to a sort of boiling point, as we can see. And I think many Tesla investors still are anxious on what happened with Twitter. Then suddenly start selling lots of stock to keep the company afloat, because X was of Twitter back in the days was struggling a lot, and they were losing money like crazy.
And we all know what happened in the meantime.
Yeah,
looking at the figures,
now become a profitable company. But what the investors of Tesla, they're a bit anxious about Elon start selling shares again. Do I know the ins and outs of this bit? No, I don't. Do I know that Elon follows through with what he offers or put on the table? Yes.
Yeah. He puts his money where his mouth is.
He is not fooling around. Yeah, so he does not. Elon is not a type of guy that plays games. Yeah, he likes video games and he's very good in video games, but he's not fooling around. So I think, yes, this offer is something that they actually put on the table. And I think this offer has a lot of strategic value to it, because now he forces OpenAI, Sam Altman, and Microsoft to come out with the real deal. And by putting out this offer, he basically avoids Sam Altman running away with all the IP of that company. So I think it has strategic value, but if they need to follow through, if you put out a bid, you need to follow through. That's also what happened with X and Twitter. Yeah. Elon was in doubt at that moment, but he just sent out an email apparently to the board of Twitter.
44 billion.
And they, with X, they first said, no, Elon, you cannot buy Twitter anymore. And then he said, fine, I don't want to buy it anymore. And then they said, no, but you have to buy it. So that turned around very fast. So yes, I think this bid is
real.
Is real. Yes, they will follow through on if that happens. But also, yes, they know exactly what they're doing, and this is not like a very let's say off the cuff thing that they're doing. Okay. This is a very strategic.
And then to round this one off, is there an advice to stockholders? Hold or sell?
Oh, don't do stupid things. just hold.
Buy the dip.
Well,
if
you
you
don't
got
know
the
how
funds.
how far it goes, but
Yeah.
I think just the sentiment is really bad now. So, like looking from afar, it takes another 4 months at least before we see robotaxi. Then the question is, how is the unit economics going to look like? How far are they going to ramp? How quick are they going to ramp? How's it going to like? We have a lot of question marks, right? And the stock market don't likes a lot of question marks. There's no cheaper model yet, so there.
Once the upside gets known,
I think it will be in limbo for at least the next 4 months, but you never know.
okay,
Yeah,
just buy and hold.
some final things on that bit. So if you can buy OpenAI for 100 billion, right now, let's say 95, 96 billion, I can tell you the list of investors that are willing to do that is endless. Because I think if you go into look at the value of OpenAI, you probably get to a 5x of that. And that was also the counter tweet of Sam Altman. Was like, yeah, but we want to buy X for you from 10 billion. So he literally says like the offer that you're putting out is a sort of pennies on the dollar bid. So the actual value of let's say OpenAI or ChatGPT and all that is probably way higher than what Elon is putting out. Probably already alone in compute that is being ordered and deployed.
Yeah, but the ultimate shareholder of this whole game is Microsoft, right? I think if Satya says we go left, we go left.
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer.
That's my Steve Ballmer maybe 10 years ago, 15.
Yeah.
No, but that's my feeling. So yes, like Sam Altman is in there, and there were some strange things with him last year, right? He was pushed out, then got back in because his employees wanted him back. I think ultimately Satya is in the driver's seat there.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say Satya is in the drive seat. Yeah. What then is Sam Altman doing with Project Stargate, Larry Ellison, and that other guy?
He's
So
just a face.
I think you're underestimating there.
Yeah, maybe.
As in just a face?
Situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be, but is he then tied to OpenAI? Is he there as Sam Altman, the investor? What is his role in that whole thing? So
face.
And
that's
then
my guess.
That's your guess. But then Elon also they had a discussion back and forth. Like
Can
this
you
guy doesn't have
these
guys doesn't have the funding ready, right? So there's something boiling. I don't have all the answers, but it's a super interesting thing to
follow. Yeah, let's see where it ends.
Hey, and following all a scam, Altman. Following our talks about Doge last week. You sent me a clip from Lex Fridman. Shall we start with that clip?
Yeah, put it on screen.
The whole clip of 2 minutes?
Whole clip.
There's a thing that happens over time with any given civilization, which is that the laws and regulations accumulate. And if there's not some forcing function like a war to clean up the accumulation of laws and regulations, eventually everything becomes legal, and that's like the hardening of the arteries, or a way to think of it is like being tied down by a million little strings, like Gulliver. You can't move. And it's not like any one of those strings is the issue. You got a million of them. So there has to be a sort of a garbage collection for laws and regulations, so that you don't keep accumulating laws and regulations to the point where you can't do anything. This is why we can't build high-speed rail in America. It's illegal. That's the issue. It's illegal 6 ways to Sunday to build high-speed rail in America.
I wish you could just like for a week go into Washington and like be the head of the committee for making what is it, for the garbage collection, making government smaller, like removing stuff.
I have discussed with Trump the idea of a government efficiency commission.
Nice. Yeah.
And I would be willing to be part of that commission.
I wonder how hard that is.
The antibody reaction would be very strong.
Yeah.
So you really have to, you're attacking the Matrix at that point. The Matrix will fight back.
The Matrix will fight back.
Dus dit is clip van...
Beautiful clip by Lex Fridman en Elon Musk. The prelude to Doge, right?
Ja, en daarna zou ik nog een clipje van then there's another clip of Lex Fridman and Elon. We can go into that. But therefore I'm always so... I did with this track record of getting things done. Like at that moment, 6 months ago, they were discussing this idea. Like, would be great if there's some sort of garbage collection for rules and regulation. And 6 months later, the Doge is probably the biggest thing that happened in the United States over the last over the last 100 years.
I love those two comments. Like the antibody reaction is going to be crazy.
Yeah. So what are we seeing right now?
Yeah,
right now we're seeing the antibody reaction. Yeah,
dude, it's really apparent.
Open heart surgery that is going on in the US.
The Matrix is attacking back, is fighting back,
and at that point you're literally attacking the Matrix. And what is this Matrix? Right, this is an idea popular on the internet, but that whole Matrix is basically government organization, government arms, paid journalists, NGOs that
always good to rewatch the whole trilogy. It's a really good trilogy, by the way.
Yeah.
Which one?
The Matrix trilogy. It's a really good trilogy. It's very philosophical. If you,
it is, and therefore that name is being used. But also one highly recommended podcast is the one of Mike Benz and Tucker Carlson over the last week. And Mike Benz is somebody that has been laying out that whole infrastructure for censoring, debanking, and all that coming out. And I think at this point, Elon could not imagine how crazy sort of the corruption and incompetency within those organizations is, with literally no accounting systems, double numbers and all that, databases that are not syncing, etc. People are that not showing up in the office buildings that are being used for hosting refugees and whatnot. And the philosophy that they had for auditing these organizations. So first of all, they needed they needed software to track where all that money was going. And there was a whole network of 50,000 NGOs that are receiving money from the government that are not like officially listed somewhere. They just needed to literally follow the money to see where all that money was flowing towards. And so they said, well, basically we send out an email to all of them and say the ones that are resisting most, those are the ones where we're going to start auditing first. So then, the organizations that starting rejecting being audited, which is Kenny's former job at Deloitte. Somebody like you, Kenny, you know how to ask the hard questions. And you know from your own experience, when people are dodging those kind of questions, you need to press a little bit harder to get the right answers. So, and I think the antibody reaction is so strong, and that's now 1 or 2 weeks.
And that's only when they started with US AID. But now Trump is saying, okay, we're going to go to the Pentagon, to the
Fed.
Yeah. So the antibody reaction will be a lot stronger even.
National security, military. So it's basically simple, right? You have a list of your biggest spend, and you're going to audit those first. But the reason I pulled up this clip is that Elon was thinking about that already 6 months ago, announced that, decided to take action, and now it's something that is plays such an important role in our next years, also for Tesla shareholders, because I think the sentiment around Elon will get to an all-time low in certain countries, especially in Europe. So doing all this work is going to bring so much heat.
Yeah, heat and hate.
yeah, exactly. And of course, there are many people that are liking it, but everybody that has run a company and need to take measures to get the company healthy again know those measures are not popular. So these measures are not popular, and he get all the support of Trump.
But they
and
need
Trump
to
is
be done.
encouraging. Huh?
They need to be done.
It needs to be done, and it's going to be chaotic certain times. So there will also be things being rolled back. But this is something that I think is going to have a huge impact on people's life in the coming year. Not everything will be pretty, but my hope is that we come out better on the other side of that work that is needed to be done.
Let's hope Harry Bowles does his work.
Some of the findings are really striking. So I think in one, he actually explained that they went, which is kind of smart. So you have the government receives money, and there's people who pay that money out to other bodies, right? So they went to the team who actually did the payment, same as you have in a company, right? People, go to the accountant or whoever who pays the creditors. And they asked, like, how many payments did you disapprove in the last 5 or 10 years? And they said never. How is it possible?
Did they even understand the word disapprove?
Yeah, so what's their role? Just approve every payment. It's crazy, like if you think about it. So yeah, you can imagine there's a lot of waste. Yeah,
and I mean, if I talk with my wife, for example, about this, and I get questions like, but why is Elon Musk doing this?
That's a good question.
It's unconstitutional.
Yeah,
he wasn't elected.
Why isn't he just working at Tesla and doing his stuff there?
Yeah.
Valid question.
Yeah.
But if you look at the video,
but what do you answer?
Well, my answer is actually this video as well. It's like, okay, but this guy, he has been trying to get to his plans, and he's explaining that the bureaucracy is keeping his plans at a very low level. If the bureaucracy wasn't in place, he would already been a lot further down his path, down his roadmap. With Tesla, it is the regulation of getting autonomous driving cars on the road. With SpaceX is actually getting those. I mean, everybody knows this, but the crazy thing is that people are asking questions right now. Why is Elon doing this? And it should be because of his companies.
Yeah, because that's exactly the question that I want to ask you, because the way you're explaining it is also like because Elon would have been farther ahead already. So then the narrative automatically shifts to, it's a crazy billionaire and he hates bureaucracy and he only wants to further himself and accumulate wealth and power. But apparently there's a bigger goal, and I'm sure you guys have some opinions on it. What's your view on that? Well, what would be the bigger goal in this picture, and why is he undertaking
I think Damien can
it?
explain it even better. But
sure,
there, of course, there's like a connection between him, his companies, and what he wants to achieve. But it's also when you're doing something and you come across certain things, you also get like knowledgeable about things. And then when you get knowledgeable about things, you actually want to change that because you get knowledge about it and you get frustrated about it.
And then you're the only one who can actually do the work.
And he is actually, he got so frustrated about it right now.
Yeah, and to be...
that it's more from his heart, that, okay, but this is not even possible anymore. He also talks in this movie about the high-speed train not even being illegal.
Yeah, that's the weirdest.
So let me clarify a couple of things here. So people actually think the Doge has authorities to approve things. No, they're just a body that is doing all the audits, and this is a very difficult job, because it's not like that those organizations are super streamlined on the back. So you need the smartest, the brightest people to make all those insights and make that ready. And Elon said, well, I have a vision on that, how to do that. But with all his findings, he needs to go to, so the Doge comes with recommendations basically, and then the government body still needs to approve that. That's
a really good thing that he actually tweeted about that or posted on X yesterday. That just to make clear that he is not the autocrat or no, like the dictator running the show. He's looking into the things, asking questions, putting his findings forward, and then actually experienced bureaucrats will do the work and start implementing, right?
So they're also simplifying tax rules, for example. So you have those pictures of massive pile of documents that got reduced to very simpler rules or regulation. And also the Trump administration then orders Doge to say, can you look into this? And that role is now already becoming more agnostic because they also ask Doge for flight safety regulation, if they can look into that. So, and that's nothing new. Government has always been a sort of outsourcing sort of research roles to external parties. But I think it's very important that Doge on itself does not have authority to improve things. They're just the execution arm of the government doing that. And I think you also asked that question, Kees, like, are we going to talk about Elon and politics, etc.?
Yeah, so, because for the listeners, like the debate is being hijacked a lot about. It's all around politics right now, and of course we're talking weekly Tesla talk.
Yeah.
But why actually are we talking about this so much?
So
why are we talking about your tweet, for example?
Yeah, I'm asking myself that question multiple times.
That was about Tesla.
Yeah, so I cannot even listen to the guy. I'm only thinking about my own tweet.
Therefore, I pulled up another video clip that actually explains this very well, also on the Lex Fridman podcast. Because this is actually not about politics, but a civilizational threat. And that... Can you put it on screen? Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's play
the whole 250?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since purchasing X, you've become more political. Is there a part of you that regrets that?
Have I?
In this battle to sort of counterweigh the woke that comes from
I guess if you consider fighting the woke mind virus, which I consider to be a civilizational threat, to be political, then yes.
So basically going into the battleground of politics. Is there a part of you that regrets that?
Yes, I don't know if this is necessarily sort of one candidate or another candidate, but it's I'm generally against things that are anti-meritocratic or where there's an attempt to suppress discussion, where even discussing a topic is, not allowed. The woke mind virus is communism rebranded.
Well, I mean, that said, because of that battle against the woke mind virus, you're perceived as being right-wing.
If the woke is left, then I suppose that would be true. But I'm not sure. I think there are aspects of the left that are good. I mean, if you're in favor of, the environment, or, if you want to have a positive future for humanity, if you believe in empathy for your fellow human beings, being kind and not cruel, whatever those values are.
You said that you were previously left or center left. What would you like to see in order for you to consider voting for Democrats again?
No, I would say that I would be probably left of center on social issues, probably a little bit right of center on economic issues.
And that still holds true.
Yes, but I think that's probably, half the country. Isn't that?
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Are you and AOC secretly friends? Or bigger?
That's it.
Interesting clip.
Yeah. So, and this is from a little bit more than a year ago, I think.
Yeah, 10 months ago.
10 months ago. And a lot of people are concerned about the social issues, right? So I know you had discussions at home, for example. And the main concern is that the Doge and the Trump administration is stepping over those social issues. While Elon is, if you look at his history, cares a lot about social issues and humanity and also the environment. Elon called himself like the man that single-handedly did most for the environment than any human on the planet. And that's actually true if you look at the transition of sustainable energy and cars. So therefore, I think if you look at the missions of Tesla, the mission of Tesla is
accelerating transition to sustainable energy.
Exactly, to sustainable energy. that's actually a very sort of traditional left-wing cause, right? And I think if you look at the type of innovative people that are being driven, those are also traditionally more, let's say, progressive, causes. And also on social issue, Elon has never proved to be a sort of anti-social human being that is trying to advance over the back of others. So I think that keeping that in mind and seeing that video clip of Elon expressing that over the years already. Elon was also very big friends with Barack Obama back in the days, etc. So Elon on social issues is way more left-leaning than that. But Elon does not think in those left and right camps. He see like, okay, what was happening in the institutions and with the woke mind virus, this is actually a civilizational threat. And that became his main objective in fighting that. And also the woke mind virus can be captured on sort of more right-wing institutions, right? So, and I think it comes down to freedom of speech, being able to discuss all the ideas that you have, and also creating less bureaucracy, which is sort of killing for innovation and progress for your country.
I think the thing he applies is basically common sense, right? He's just like, all right, what's the best route forward?
Basic stuff.
Basic stuff. Yeah, he's not thinking. So I think what he actually says, and that's not how he's portrayed here, right? He's very right-wing portrayed here, very right. But he still says, I still agree with governments taking a certain role, being able to put rules out there, having empathy for your
fellow human
beings. Like if people maybe are not able to work or whatever, he feels that there should be support. So on those kind of things, he's actually quite left-winged, so to speak.
Yep.
But on the business side, he's more or less like, let's not get too much strings attached to all the businesses and just give them a bit more freedom. Not all the freedom, but a bit more freedom. So I think he's pretty balanced. And the funny thing is he tries to say that in this podcast. Mm-hmm. But as Lex Fridman says, but the left wing is like progressive on the woke mind stuff.
Yep.
And if you're not, then you're right. And he says, well, okay, I'm against that. So if that can be perceived as being right wing, then I am right wing.
And so be it.
But in essence, he isn't. And I think a lot of people aren't.
And it's actually good to watch these clips because these clips will make you understand why he is like he is and that he's not like that crazy billionaire that he's portrayed as.
Yeah, but I think that's the biggest problem of the civilization that we have right now, right? So at home, with my family, I'm also always considered right-winged. Well, I'm like open economies, etc., and I like to stimulate business because I think it's important for civilization. Don't say it. But on the other hand, like when you have like daycare and that kind of stuff,
you look like the German in Inglourious Bastards, to be honest. But
which German? Which German?
The general guy. Yeah.
Well, maybe we have a clip.
Let's bring it on, Kees.
Can you pull him up? Or
then also put a photo of the dog of Damien, and he looks like that as well.
You mean this one? Hans Landa?
Smart-looking guy.
Look, this is actually Kenny.
This is Kenny explaining stock valuation. Where's the calculator?
I think he. Well, actually, that's a very good. He plays his role very well.
Definitely, one of my favorite movies, actually.
It's a what? No, but again, I'm not right on all the things. I think I would consider myself more balanced, and I think Elon is the same.
Yeah, but
let's get back to cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Sexy cars.
Sexy cars.
Almost back to the sexy cars, Jens. But for me, I think it's important to highlight these kind of clips.
Definitely.
Because also a lot of sentiment within the Tesla community is that because of Elon being involved in all this, Tesla is not selling enough cars and all that. That's a big part of the sentiment, I think, within the Tesla community. But I also think to use Elon's words, the best way to correct wrong speech is by elevating right speech. And this is what a person has actually said about his positions. These clips are not being played on the mainstream media, especially in Europe. So I think for us, having these discussions with people we care around in our daily lives, it's important to just highlight those clips and sharing the actual
media
information
right now.
It's good that we're discussing it.
Yeah, and it's good. But to be honest, like I've never been big into politics, to be honest, because I like businesses way more. And I think we started the podcast with let's talk about the Musk economy. Now Doge is part of that, so it makes sense. It's very relevant. But yeah, nonetheless, I like businesses better than the political stuff.
Back to Tesla. But I hope we can all return
this whole Doge thing is actually business. It's showing that you can run as a business, and the government hasn't been run as a business, and it has been going completely out of control.
Well, you don't have to tell me that.
Yeah. So it's actually it is that's how basic it is.
Yeah, preaching to a preached.
Hey, bringing this back to cars, sexy cars. Tesla has
say Tesla is a car company, Kees?
Tesla has never been anything else than a car company. Fuck robotics, fuck AI. No, here we see a post by Herbert. Tesla has just released FSD beta. Funny that they don't call it supervised. In Mexico for the first time ever. So that's really positive. The first country outside of North America, first region outside of North America and Canada to be having FSD. And that brings me to the next question, Florian, actually. Because we briefly touched on this last week. We've had multiple conversations about it. Which car will be the first robotaxi? You were convinced that it was Cybercab. I was convinced that it was Model Y. Still am leaning towards Model Y, but Franz von Holzhausen.
I first put out a poll on X as well, asking my public.
What was the response?
I think more than 70% said Model Y. So I said, Kees, you are right, you're winning.
Yeah, and then the day after... this video gets out, the video from Jay Leno test driving the new Model Y. I can really recommend that one. It's a good one. But Franz von Holzhausen, in the car, he was spilling the beans that this year, Cybercab will run FSD unsupervised, in tandem with Model Y in Austin.
A no-brainer. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, and of also course, in the video, the cars that were covered still. So
yeah, there were some covered cars, but I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, I think they're also going to use the Model Y, but they're also going to use the robotaxi. They have to test it because it's the first time it's on the road.
They are actively testing it right now on closed Tesla grounds at the Austin factory.
Yeah, but the one thing I'm really curious about, actually, and I haven't heard anybody about it, but. Like normally when there's a new car, you have all those testings, right? So
camouflage spottings or what?
No, but also testing for impact and
Crash
that kind of stuff. So I'm actually very curious, like what does the application look like to get certain, like those robotaxis on the road? There's never been robotaxis.
Well,
so
I don't think they necessarily need to be different in terms of requirements for entry and safety because they are participating in the road just as any other vehicle will be. So, yeah, why would it be a different?
You say that now, but I don't completely agree because a normal vehicle needs to be able to be on the highways, right? Needs to be able to accelerate to a certain extent. And if you optimize a robotaxi, let's say for in a city commute and have the Model Ys for like between cities and that kind of stuff, then they could have like smaller motors. They're smaller.
And that's exactly what Brian from Futurasa said. And the top speed will be like 80, 85 miles per hour. And that's that's the speed limit on the highway in America.
Yeah, and I don't know, but I think for a Model Y, they say you have to be able to drive quicker or faster than 80 miles an hour because you need to be on a highway. But maybe a Cybercab doesn't need to be on a highway. So it might have...
Yeah, it's fairly easy to limit it software-wise, right? So... Maybe.
But my thing is, I think they will limit it hardware-wise to make it more affordable.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying is that both the Cybercab and the Model Y are being used as Cybercab in the beginning, or
that will be performing robotaxi rides. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the Model Y as Cybercab is something that they talked about a long time ago as well. Not sure as a Cybercab, but they talked about like we have certain capacity on the product, on the manufacturing lines, right? So there's a certain capacity for Model Ys, for Model 3s, et cetera, in the factories. And based on the organic sales, they're not reaching full capacity, which is in violation basically with their mission to accelerate, right? So they want to put out as much cars as possible, basically. So from that lens, it would make a lot of sense to sort of use that overcapacity to start creating Model Ys. For me, it would be an amazing thing to see Model Ys as well as Cybercab. And if you think about the future, if the future is all autonomous, electric, we know already that the future is electric, but the future is also going to be autonomous with no steering wheels. It's a matter of time before sort of the older models, like the Model Y, are being made ready for those transitions as well. So for me, it's not a matter of if, but more a matter of when.
And you see it in the design philosophy of new Model 3, new Model Y. It's completely tailored to Robotaxi. The most striking thing, actually two things, are the screen in the back.
Okay.
That will be used to put in your destination or interact with the services that will be offered on top of Robotaxi. But also being able to move the seat in front of you. Like I've been driving in, I've been sitting in so many luxury Mercedes sedans that are used as a taxi, and you cannot even do that from the back seat.
What about the frunk with the how do you call it?
Okay, it seems
powered by Moe.
Yeah, it seems very insignificant, but like whilst we were talking, I got this idea. Like the party is gonna come to you, and how is it gonna be? How is it gonna happen? A Model Y goes to the supermarket or Moe Chandon, puts Moe Chandon fills the frunk with ice and bottles, and then if you need to get rid of that water, you just pull the plug. Yeah. But you can also use it differently, because if you don't use it as a Robotaxi, and like Sandro, for instance, the guy we sponsored, the adventure guy, he lives from his car. So he actually uses the frunk to wash and clean his stuff.
Okay.
So like by putting, how do you call that? Like
a plug.
By putting a plug in something like a frunk, it seems very insignificant, but it greatly enhances like the overall usability.
Yeah, great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's I think the reason Elon retweeted your tweet.
I think so. Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, definitely.
But I do think that I'm going to win. There's going to be more Cybercabs than Model Ys on the Robotaxi.
That would be very cool. So I'm not disputing this, but I'm still at the Model Y.
Yeah, so they officially announced that the Cybercab will be on the roads in Austin in June, right?
Yeah,
in the wild.
And Elon posted yesterday.
Confirmed that as well.
He confirmed it. Yeah,
but yeah. I'm still I'm still looking at the definition of in the wild. We talked about it last week as well.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
For me, in the wild, still I haven't heard something else, but it's the factory. And it's not on the...
I know that they're already testing it.
Yeah, but June is probably it's going to be like the nail of the toe.
Yeah.
And June will be probably the factory, showing everybody they are driving their cars to the factories. I would be surprised that we will see...
But no, I think Elon is like balls to the wall, or an all or nothing. So if he's going to announce this, he's not going to test it on...
So, okay... well, we have to be there then in June.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I think they will be out in the open, just in the wild.
In the wild, okay.
Just on the streets of Austin. So on the tweet of Elon, he basically says like, okay, in June we have them driving around in Austin. That's our test.
It's probably that he already sees from the current Cybercabs that they are already able to drive without any because it's a general solution. So they already know there is no risks at all. So
the only thing I'm confused about is the timing wise. So I agree with Damian. So he's not. I don't think he's got, because they're all already doing it in Palo Alto. I think they're testing with employees. So that's already happening. But normally, so I think back last year, they said like 3 or 4 months in advance, we're going to start 8.8, right? And then we had 10.10. So it got postponed a little bit. But actually, when they had 10.10, the people there were driving on version 13 point something, which got introduced to the public 4 months, 5 months later, right?
No, 2 months.
December.
Is it 2 months?
Pretty quick, yeah.
Okay. Well, 2 months, and let's say 2 months, but they tested it and stuff. So they're in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
they're ahead.
Yeah, they're ahead internally. But this FSD, and maybe we can do that next week with an in-depth release, but it needs to be much better than humans before they can release it. And also saying Franz yesterday, so Elon is always positive about it, right? And I said we'll be later.
Good news, yeah.
But now that Franz said
conservative, so.
Yeah, Franz is conservative, but also Lars, because Lars has to do it. You know, it's like working with a designer, a CEO, and then the engineer. CEO will say, we'll do it next week. Designer will say, next week I can have the design ready. And the engineer thinks, I have to implement this and I have to make it operational. It's going to be too hard. Guys, it's going to take 2 months.
If Captain Chaos says it's going to happen, then it will definitely happen.
Then take it with a grain of salt, I would say.
No, I say, of course, this is one of the most pushed timelines.
Yeah,
let's say in Elon / Tesla history, right? Full self-driving is already
but
announced.
But he's getting more confident, though.
Yeah, but it's already announced in 2016, so we're almost a decade ahead right now.
Been a long 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I think most of the recent announcement, you don't. Yeah, they're so strong and so concrete. Like in June, this is going to happen. It would surprise me if that get delayed instead of pulled forward.
I still think it will get
delayed.
And
in terms of monitoring, because at 10.10 we saw Optimus. And everybody was amazed, but they were teleoperated. Mm-hmm. To what extent are they going to teleoperate this, or on a small scale deploy it, or are we going to see it like in the wild, full pull Austin, Fort Worth, Dallas?
I think the first quarter from June, July, August will be a test phase where they iron out sort of the latest kinks. So teleoperated will be. Let me have a very simple analogy. Maybe it's a very stupid analogy, but sometimes when I go out for restaurants, there are these slagbomen. How do you translate?
Yeah, good question. But it's like if you go onto a parking lot, then a door has to open, right?
It needs to be open, and that's a super simple function, right?
It's a barrier.
Barrier.
Yeah, barrier. There's this barrier. You need to pay for it in order to get through. Do you know how many times I got difficulties going through that barrier that it somehow did not accept the payment, or the payment was accepted but not open it?
I can tell you, he doesn't. I was with him in the car earlier today. He doesn't know how it works. I was like, "How's this guy managing to live?" You know.
Florian also had troubles with it.
I said, "You're like you don't know how digital things work. Like, how's this? How's this possible?"
And he drives a computer on wheels.
Yeah,
but let's say then there's this barrier, and then I suddenly had this realization: wow, this barrier is actually teleoperated too. If I push on that information button, then the telephones come, says, "Okay, sir, where are you right now? I'm here at this barrier on X and Y location. What is going on?" And they check a couple of things in the system, and it's going to be they open it up for you.
The conclusion is he doesn't know how his phone works, but they can see it.
Okay, but then there's still the button that you can sort of teleoperated thing. So there will always be a level of service to. My point that I want to make is that there will always be a level of service.
You can never eliminate the human
Elon
from it.
drops in some piccolos. Because some bellboys, because he's been talking about that a lot. So. Just for fun.
Some bellboys? How do you mean?
Like in a old school elevator, there was a guy operating the elevator for you, and that's the bellboy. Yeah. That's called the bellboy. So
what's he going to do with it?
Elon always referred to that the
That will be the supervisor behind the
that will be
steering
the
wheel.
supervised
to take over.
way of introducing
think
this.
makes
But
sense.
This is exactly what I responded to somebody asking this question yesterday on X. Yeah.
But I think
Great mind
that
thinks
there
alike.
will always be a service level, and but let's say for 99.9% of the tasks, they just try to iron out, because one of the famous quotes of Elon is also, reality is stranger than fiction sometimes. So making the case of, if you want to make a giant drive simulator for AI, that's actually impossible, because then you need to simulate the entire world, which would be a giant accomplishment on itself.
And then you can just train it in the world itself.
Yeah, so the amount of cases that I encountered with full self-driving probably also surprised them a lot. So the weirdest situation that you can encounter on the street, like literally giraffes or elephants suddenly crossing or whatever.
they were looking at this guy in front of a barrier, not being able to open it.
Who the fuck is this
guy?
So they already have
How
millions.
stupid can you be?
They already have millions and millions of cases already labeled. So millions of these cases are already labeled, and of course Tesla has seen many more cases than a human being could see in his entire lifetime.
Yeah.
But then still, you're going to encounter things that the computer doesn't have an answer for. So they want to iron out and make sure that they have thought about everything, but the thinking process is just limited to sort of real world scenarios. So it needs to be tested in real world.
Yeah.
I'm just very excited about seeing the first ones on the road.
Yeah, I'm excited where we are in the year.
Yeah.
So it might be that if the launch goes well and they test, because they said we'll be in multiple cities by the end of the year, then 2026 will be all about ramping up, scaling the robotaxi. Will be really exciting.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised if in a year we're like, we're still testing and things are not happening as fast as we want.
But it's also necessary because it needs to be safe. Yep. But I'm really curious how the space will evolve around it. So when they get approved and when they ironed all these kinks out and have it safe enough, is Tesla going to operate it themselves on X, the Everything app? Or is it going to be one whole melting pot of all ride-hailing companies being able to tap into those vehicles? So let's say we own and operate a fleet of 5,000 vehicles in the Austin area. And Uber has its place, Lyft has its place. They would have to have their own drivers and own vehicles. But if they have a sudden surge in demand, they can just tap into our vehicles, see which are the most optimally charged and cleaned, I don't know. And then they can just use it for that. And then the car gets back. So I think we're going to, the ownership
Larry was also
change.
talking about this patent that they released, didn't he?
The fleet operator patent.
Yeah, and that's actually the whole patent. I want to dive into it one of the next episodes, together with also the ARK Invest Big Ideas, because then we can make it into a real robotaxi episode. And now I think
really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
definitely.
The big ideas from ARK, it's amazing again.
Yeah, we have to dive in that. I think was also a question from one of the listeners to go into that. We scheduled it for today, but I think we only have around 6-7 minutes left.
Final thoughts from Damien.
Sorry to
2 minutes,
so much, but
weave.
Yeah. So we evaluate FSD as the service it is right now, right? So let's say it still improves in June. That's still not the end goal for the capabilities of full self-driving. So let's say right now we can be on par on the safety of a good human driver. The actual goal is to be 10 times or 20 or 30 times safer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the end, when they reach that capacity and they have confidence that with every iteration it gets a certain percentage safer, but in a couple of years from now, we will, at least that is the vision. If we get there, that will be a major thing, of course. That the design is to be 10x safer than a human being. So we need to keep on extrapolating the capabilities of full self-driving over the next years, and don't don't see it as a static thing. Then when it's launched, then it's stop improving. It will be a process that entire fleet gets more and more intelligence over the coming years.
It will get better. And finish off with like a prediction. How long will it take, according to you, to reach that 10x improvement? 10x safer than a human?
Yeah, you have like the 6 billion is the data point to be on level 5, something like that, or is that what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so 6 billion. Elon always said when we reach 6 billion, we will have worldwide regulatory approval.
Yeah.
So we also got this. I don't know who posted it, but. You can see with the rate of improvement, we will get to as safe as a human within 2 quarters.
Yeah.
But that's already 10x from where we are right now. So we go from right now to as good as a human, and that's 10x.
In 2 quarters?
In 2 quarters. So to answer your question, it will only take 2 more quarters to get 10x better than human.
Yeah, so a year.
But that's if you think linearly. But we're looking at an exponential curve. So it could also be like 10 days after we got to human.
Yeah.
Exciting. And Leslie, your prediction, because we need to round it off.
Damien, you want to say?
Yeah, final thing is, so basically, if you think about how full self-driving improves, right? So on the one hand, that's compute that is being added to their cluster, so to say. So there's a compute restriction. Elon already said we don't have, we're not limited by compute anymore. So they have plenty of compute for the coming time. Then you have the training capabilities. How are the training capabilities being improved? That is by data. How is the data being collected? That's by cars on the road. So every quarter, there are 500,000 new cars coming on the road with a new capability, and that number is ramping. Maybe Q1 this year, a little bit less because of the transition of Model Y. But after that, we will see aggressive ramp with the Cybercabs coming on the road. And all these cars on the road are also compute. So that adds to that whole solution that you're going to have. So to Florian's point, it will accelerate. And so the numbers of miles driven on FSD will accumulate so fast that like 6 billion, that is now sort of magical number. If we look in the rear window a couple of years from now, it's just a blip on the radar.
Once you achieve that 6 billion, then it's gonna increase
probably
to 20.
We get 6 billion miles at some point in 4 or 5 days, or maybe 2 or 3 days when the fleet is big enough.
Okay, so final prediction, Austin.
Yeah, I think we'll take a bit longer. So Austin will be this year, maybe another city as well. I don't think multiple cities. That will be 2026.
You're the realist of this group.
My guess.
Elon reiterated multiple cities by end of this year.
Yeah. Well, I think 2 or 3, and then 2026 more, and start ramping.
Let's make a bet on this next week. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's make the bet. Are they actually going to roll out in June in Austin?
No.
Yes. With Cybercabs.
With Cybercabs.
With Cybercabs.
Yeah. With Piccolo's.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Cheers.